Hi and welcome back to another episode of Across the Ocean. My name is Matthias from Zurich.
And I'm James in Miami.
And in today's episode, we'll talk about accessories for action cameras for filming underwater. Coming up. Thank you so much, guys, for tuning in again to today's Across the Ocean episode. Hello, James. So good to see you again, mate. How have you been?
I'm well, buddy. I'm well. You're looking very well yourself. Still snowing there, I see.
It is a little bit. Well, it's Switzerland. What do you expect?
Yeah.
We have half of the year, it's winter time here. And not quite half of the year, we've got snow lying on the street. It's not really that dramatic, but close to that. Yeah, no, I've been very good, and I've been thinking a lot about all the things that we talked about in our previous episode when we talked about tips and tricks to help you guys improve your filmmaking with action cams underwater. And as we said in the last episode, this one today will be focusing on accessories that will help you guys get that footage that you want in a much easier and better way to capture that underwater. Now, me personally, I do have a little bit of experience shooting with action cams underwater. I've shot with older models of GoPros, I've shot with Osmo Actions and with Paralens cameras, but by no means I'm an expert when it comes to shooting with action cams as you are, James. Most of the footage, I understand, that is has been taken underwater on your channel has been filmed with GoPros, right?
Yeah, everything on my channel up to the date of recording today, mate, has been recorded either with one of the more modern GoPro series or with a good old-fashioned iPhone, which I class the iPhone in terms of quality of image and adaptability as an action camera as well these days, and with the housings for all that kind of stuff. So yeah, pretty much all the underwater footage on Divers Ready is shot on an action camera. So I've got a fair amount of experience trying to milk these, inexpensive cameras and get pretty decent results, pretty okay results. Not, insane Netflix documentary quality, but something I'm at least happy with. So yeah, that's definitely something that I enjoy. And I think today we're just going to go over kind of how I built different setups, different accessories that we use, and sort of, what I use different things for, if that makes sense. Does that sound fair?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah. I personally want to know how you rig up that GoPro, how you make it as good as you possibly can, and I'm sure that our viewers are very interested in hearing about your tips and tricks on accessories for the GoPro as well. So why don't we get right into it, James?
Absolutely.
Give us your top accessories, please.
Yeah, absolutely. So I did make a video on our channel, Divers Ready, just on GoPro mounting options. So the pros and cons of all the different ways of mounting. And in the last episode of Across the Ocean, we already talked a little bit about selfie sticks and why they're a bad idea in terms of either you get nothing but fish butts and you're chasing and interrupting fish life, which is not great, and also the fact that they're really shaky. I'm not a big fan of mounting GoPros on the mask or anywhere on the head for two reasons. Number one, you move your head a lot underwater, as we discussed last episode, but also because as you breathe out, if you're open circuit, you're getting nothing but bubble shots going up past the lens. That can be kind of annoying. You get over that real quick. I'm also not a big fan of those floaty handles because if you're scuba diving and you let go of your camera, it's not easy for you to retrieve it. They are great for snorkeling. They're great for free diving and dip diving down to take some quick shots. Because if you let go of it, it ends up on the surface and that's where you're going to end up. But if you're 10 minutes into a 45-minute dive, your floating camera isn't going to be above you in the open ocean when you come up from the dive. So not a big fan of those. Instead, what I thought I'd do is I go through how I build up my GoPro rig from getting a new GoPro, and I just upgraded to the 9, and how I fit that out for taking more cinematic footage. So here is my GoPro 9, And the first thing, as you can see, that I bought is the actual GoPro dive housing. The official one, not one of the cheap knockoff, can't trust them, off-brand GoPro housings. If you put your camera into that, GoPro will not honor any kind of warranty. And it's just not worth it to save $5-10 on a knockoff housing. So I always get the actual GoPro dive housing. They also call it a super suit in some iterations. And I put this on even though the GoPro is waterproof. So the GoPro is waterproof right now to 10 meters, 33 feet. But I still slap the housing on because it also protects the camera and it protects the lens. And I'd rather scratch the cover of my $50 super suit protection than the actual lens of the camera itself, which is a lot more expensive to replace. So my camera pretty much always lives, even on the boat, getting into the water, getting out of the water, it just lives in this regardless of the depth that I'm diving.
Awesome.
So that's one thing. The other thing, and if I just go back to my GoPro 8 here, this again is in the official dive housing. You can see that the housing allows me to actually mount filters. In this case, I've got two, one for shallow water diving, which is 10 to 25 feet. You can flip that down into position for diving on the shallow reef. If you're going deeper, you just flip the other housing over, or the other filter over, which is 25 to 80 feet. So it adds that red back in. Highly recommended. You also use red filters, right, for the DJI Osmo?
Yeah, I do. I do use them regularly because I think they're the easiest and cheapest way to actually get color back into your image, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. So then we got to sort of talk about how we mount it. Now you notice that I have this one on just a bolt snap. So this just clips onto my BCD and that's how I get in the water and carry it. But that's not actually how I recommend to film. I have this set up because I use it to take a couple of quick shots of my students, give them video feedback on their trim and their buoyancy and that kind of stuff. And then I clip it off on myself and we carry on with the dive. So the focus of those dives is not getting cinematic imagery. It's just something that I can quickly put away. It's nice and compact, secure, and that's taken care of. But if I wanted to do serious filming, I wouldn't use this floppy clip and have it in my hand and it'd be all shaky and nasty. That doesn't make any sense. So I'm looking for more stability. Don't want to use the bobble handle. Don't want to slap it up on my forehead for cinematic imagery. Definitely don't want to use the shaky old selfie stick or extender pole or whatever they're called. You want to go with something like this. Nice compact tray arm that's going to give you good stability. It's got a good strong handle. It allows you to mount the GoPro and it allows you to mount a light. So something like this is absolutely invaluable for me for getting really steady, stable shots. You can even mount it to a tripod, set it in the set it in the sand. And I mean, that is just producing the best image quality you could ask for out of such an economical camera setup.
Very cool. Very cool. I like that. What tray is that?
This is actually the single arm from Backscatter. Backscatter are an American-based camera store, actually, but they're actually the same people that make the filters. They make the tray and the arm. There is also a double tray version that you can get, and mount two lights, obviously. And they're pretty economical and they're really well made. So they've just been a brand that I've favored for a fair while now.
Very cool. How does the tray perform underwater in terms of weight? Is it neutrally buoyant? Is it negative?
So it's slightly negative, but it's almost overall, even with the GoPro 9, which is this one, mounted to it, it's slightly negative, the whole thing. So again, lanyard, clip, make sure it's secure when it's not in your hands. Obviously, you don't want to be losing this stuff. It's not cheap. But it's actually, you can see there's a little bit of flotation in the foam on the handle there.
Yes.
It's not too bad. It is solid aluminium or aluminum for our American friends. But it's actually pretty neutral. And then you slap a light on it like that and it goes slightly negative, obviously.
Okay. Excellent. Now, I've got one question before we go any further for you. You were talking about the housing for the GoPro and that you always prefer to use the native, the original GoPro housing. Now, what's your take on third-party housings, and I don't mean the cheap knockoffs, but there is some really expensive housings for GoPros out on the market as well. What's your point of view on that?
Yeah, I've never used them, but I've given them some serious thought and consideration and done a fair amount of research into them. One of the leading companies actually for GoPro housings is Isotto, which is an Italian housing manufacturer, and they've been very good at machining and developing deeper dive housings for the GoPro. So the actual dive housing that you get here is rated to, I think, 130 feet, which is what, 40 meters?
40
and
meters.
Change.
Yeah.
So that's plenty deep enough for most recreational divers. That's the limit of recreational dive training if you've got your deep diver certification. And even then, your exposure is going to be maybe 8 minutes on nitrox with an NDL time. Let's not digress, but my point is, you're not going to have it at depth for very long. So, anything beyond recreational limits, if you wanted to go technical and take this deeper, then yeah, you would have to look at a more robust and more specific housing. So something like a machined specific housing for that individual GoPro, as you would then for a DSLR or a mirrorless. The trouble with that is, these GoPros, they're basically upgrading them every, 10 months, a year? We see a new one come out. And those Isotto housings, while they're beautiful, are more than the actual camera itself. If you buy this for $300, the housing is probably like 400. So really the only reason I would go for it is if you're taking video deeper than 140 feet, which means or 130 feet, 40 meters, which means you're probably on a technical dive, in which case, yeah, you're going to invest in that housing and keep with that GoPro. But because technology is moving so fast, and I just went from the 8 to the 9, which I don't normally do. Normally there's a couple in between, but I wanted to see what 5K looked like underwater. So I stepped up and made that purchase, and now we are, and it's moving so quickly that you can't be dropping $400 on a housing for every $300 you're spending on a camera every single year. Because then you might as well just step up and get a mirrorless and a housing, because you'll spend the same money in no time.
Yeah, I see your point. Yeah, cool, thanks. So what else are you using? What else are accessories that are crucial in your opinion to help you get the best possible footage?
So we talked about lighting. I didn't go into too much details there, but you want to get a nice compact light. I'm a big fan of Light and Motion for the nature of the fact that they're rechargeable, they're a sealed body design, and they're relatively compact, and they put out a nice, soft, well-diffused light. This one happens to be the Sola Video 2000, so not a massively bright light, but it has a good dispersion and easy use, easy to control, and it doesn't overtake the whole rig. I mounted it here on a lock line arm, which is not my preference. They're kind of a pain to snap and adjust, but that's just basically what I already had. But it's real easy to recharge this in position. I can move it to any position that I want, and just to add in the light that we lose. In addition to that, I don't have here to show you, but I have a snap-on ambient light filter. So when we're using the red filters and we're adding light into our shot, we don't want to make everything look completely washed out with red. So in order to do that, we use an ambient filter, which will be blue-greenish, depending on the color of water that we're diving in. And that just helps to remove some of the red from the light and give you more of a natural look. So you use ambient filters as well. What lighting brands do you prefer?
Yeah, of course. Ambient filters are something that has come out and hit the market a couple years ago, I would say, and has been a very big hit, really. And if I'm not mistaken, I think that Kelden, the Swiss underwater lighting company, they actually came up with the idea, the concept of ambient light filters. From like our previous discussions, that I'm a big fan of the Kelden lights when I'm shooting professionally underwater, simply because they are so easy to use even with thick gloves, and they produce a beautiful light. But at the same time, I would say putting 2 Kelden lights on a GoPro setup is maybe a little overkill.
They're huge, they're heavy.
I mean, people have heard me saying that you can never have enough light, and I I stand to that statement. I think it's true. But if you're shooting with a GoPro or another compact action camera, probably your aim is to keep your system as small as possible. So I would not put the largest available light on that system. What I like for small compact systems is OrcaTorch lights. This is the OrcaTorch D910V, which is their specific video light, which has about 5,000 lumen and a 90-degree beam angle, which I find very pleasing on action cameras, because when you go to the narrowest field of view on an action camera, you can actually use that underwater video light to just illuminate and light up the entire scene that is captured by the camera quite nicely. Obviously, it's not going to be enough to, you know, illuminate something that is a couple meters away from you, but it's going to be plenty if you've got a fish that swims past the camera to put a little bit of light into the scene and help you with the colors there. So these lights, I really like the OrcaTorch lights for that, because they're so compact, small, and still powerful enough to give you plenty of light.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's about it. I try, like you said, the main advantage of using an action camera over a big rig, apart from obviously they being a lot more economical, is the compact nature. So I don't try and build mine out too much. I want to make sure that it, you know, it'll fit in my gear bag with my other gear. I don't need to bring a whole separate suitcase for a camera shoot. You know, particularly if we're just recreational diving somewhere here in Florida, it's real easy just to throw the GoPro in. And I find that the smaller I keep my setup and the less accessories I use, the more video I'm actually encouraged to shoot. And that's probably a good tip for all you beginners out there, is don't try and go too massive too soon, because the camera will become a hassle instead of a tool for enjoyment. So by all means, start small, keep your rig small, have one light, one arm, or a simple double tray with small lights, and think about the size and how convenient it's going to be to use that system underwater. And then you're going to get results that you're going to enjoy more. And as you build that experience, then you can start moving up the ranks and build out your rig from there.
Absolutely agree. Absolutely. And I think you can always add things to your rig, but try to master what you've got first. That would be probably my main tip, because you can get fantastic footage, and we've seen it from many people. You can get fantastic footage with just a GoPro. No filters, no lights, nothing, but you need to know how to use it and when to use it. So just work with whatever you've got, try to get the best out of it, be creative, especially with action cameras, because they're so small. You can put them in places where you wouldn't be able to put other cameras. Like even just leave it. I mean, if you've got a dive site, you know it's not very frequently dived, or you can leave it somewhere for half an hour or even between your surface interval. Leave it there, see what happens. It's amazing what will come up to the camera, and actually check out the camera and see what it is, and swim around in front of the lens, and you get some footage that you would not be able to get with any other camera, really. Because you don't want to leave your $15,000 camera rig underwater by itself, but maybe with a $300, $400 GoPro, that risk is kinda, you can maybe take that risk. At least better than putting a really expensive camera down there. But
you heard it here first, folks. Leave your cameras in the ocean.
Yeah, just leave them there and let us know where you leave them. We'll come and collect them for you.
Yeah, exactly. And you can get them back on eBay.
Correct. With a good discount, of course. All right. Have you got anything else, any extra or additional accessories that you would like to share with us today, James?
No, I think we're pretty good there. I think, you know, if you just start with this basic stuff, get the proper dive housing for your action camera, whether it's the DJI Osmo or the GoPro, slap a red filter on it, see your colors pop, build a basic tray, get a light, get an ambient filter for the light so your images don't now look too red. I think you're off to the races. I really do.
yeah, so thank you very much for watching, guys. This was basically it for today's video. Obviously, all the products that we talked about in today's video, they will be linked in the video description below, so feel free to go and check them out whenever you like. Now, in next month episode, we'll kind of take this whole GoPro series a little further, and we'll talk about settings on our action cameras, the GoPro on your side, James, right?
Absolutely.
And the Osmo Action on my side. So we'll take you through the menu systems of these cameras. We'll take you through all the settings that we put into our action cameras before we submerge and take them for a dive, so you guys can copy those same settings and see if they work for your type of shooting as well.
Just to echo what Matthias said, thank you so much for watching, guys. I have a lot of fun making this video series. Matthias, I hope you do too. Otherwise, that wouldn't be fair.
Very much. Cool, I hope you got something out of this video, guys, and if that's the case, please make sure to subscribe to both of our channels if you haven't yet, so you're not missing out on any future episodes of the Across the Ocean series that will come out here every single month. Thanks again for watching, thanks for your time. I send good wishes over to Miami. Hopefully the weather has warmed up a little bit in the meantime.
Absolutely.
And have a good day over there, James. I know you're starting your day just about as I'm getting into the afternoon. And for you guys, have a fantastic morning, afternoon, or evening, depending on where and when you're watching this video. Thanks for your time, and we'll see you in the next video.
Take care, guys.
Bye-bye. What are we talking about again? Oh yeah, accessories, right. Thanks again for...
You're right.
Jesus Christ, I'm getting tired.
Me
you know,
too. I did
then.
I just like you saw me, I had a brain fart like right in the middle of the video. I totally forgot what I was talking about or what my next point was, and I was looking around my desk like an idiot, like, oh yeah, the tray. It's like right here. You're looking at it, you idiot. Yeah.
I keep dragging out those goodbye sections. I'm very sentimental.